Kamusta mga ka-SoJ TV? Kayo po ay nanonood ng So Jannelle. I'm your host Jannelle So, coming to you today from the Geffen Contemporary in MOCA Los Angeles, where they are currently holding an exhibition on the years and works of Paul Pfeiffer. Si Paul Pfeiffer po ay isang Filipino-American contemporary artist that in the eyes of the organizers, the curators, and the people behind MOCA Los Angeles is one of the greatest contemporary artists of our time. And yes, siya po ay Pilipino, itinatayo po ang bandila nating mga Pilipino in terms of contemporary art. Here's his story.
I mean, this is 25 years of work. So really what we're trying to do in this show at LA MOCA is to create a situation where people will move through very different kinds of spaces. Some are like full of sound, others are about photography, others are about sculpture. You know, I've been an artist living in New York for 30 years. You know, I'm lucky, I've had many opportunities to show my work. I haven't really been known as a Filipino artist. In a way, it's purposeful in that I was never really interested in sort of being known as a Filipino artist per se. But I also believe that there's something so specific to the experience of living and growing up in the Philippines.
Paul, welcome to Los Angeles and congratulations on this first ever solo exhibition of yours in Los Angeles. Tell me, what does it feel? How do you feel right now?
It feels really great to be able to present this work in LA. I think it resonates with different aspects of this city as a kind of entertainment capital and multicultural city. So I'm really happy to be here, and you know, it's an amazing museum to be invited to present 25 years worth of work.
Yes.
It's pretty cool.
And the people behind the Geffen Contemporary Art Museum, they refer to you as one of the greatest contemporary artists of our time.
I don't know about that, but you know, I certainly, you know, I've been making work for a long time, and in some ways, you know, I do think that I'm not alone, but I have been one of the artists who has been interested in the emergence of digital media since the 90s. I've been tracking the evolution of kind of social changes that have been so influential that for me it's exciting to be part of a current conversation about image making and society in this era of social media. It's such a kind of time of possibility and also of urgency.
So let's start with that. For those who are not familiar or maybe only getting to know about you now, how would you describe your work, your art?
I work a lot with video, but I don't come from a background in filmmaking. I come from a background in printmaking, etching and screen printing, you know, like a medium for making posters or for making signage, for advertising, like a medium of the street. I've just been interested in like how ways in which we communicate in the street and with each other on an everyday basis. And I was also born at a time where, in a way, you know, I came of age just as the computer was becoming accessible to average people. I happen to be an artist who starts before the iPhone and social media and has been making work through the full evolution of these tools and mediums.
How did you get into it and why?
Both of my parents are musicians, specifically church musicians. Having grown up surrounded by the production of music and culture in a religious setting, I've always been attuned to the ways in which we come together through non-verbal modes of communication, sound, image, performance, observations or ideas about society has just been something I always did.
Right. But it's one thing to be intrigued by art. It's one thing to be intrigued by, you know, all this media, but it's another thing to really devote your life's work to it and decide that this is how you're going to live as an artist. At what point did that happen to you?
To be honest, when I started in art school, I think I didn't even know the difference between, say, advertising and fine art. It so happens I was encouraged by my sister to specifically consider going to the San Francisco Art Institute. And that's where I ended up getting my undergraduate, where I studied printmaking. And at the Art Institute, they really promoted a very kind of experimental, like laboratory style approach. You know, thinking outside the box, thinking conceptually how art making could be a form of social engagement.
Right. But going to San Francisco was not a straight line for you. You were born and raised in Hawaii. You actually moved to Negros Oriental.
To Dumaguete.
And then you lived there, and then you went to New Mexico, and then eventually finding your way to New York. You got a lot from all those travels, right?
I would say so. Yeah, I mean, aside from just being exposed to music and culture through my parents, you know, to have early experience of living outside the US really informed my perception, made me realize there's kind of ways of thinking about things or social conventions that when you're just growing up inside of it, you take for granted, but then to step outside of it, to be in a different context, you know, to see how people live in other contexts over an extended period of time, and then, you know, to understand how different contexts are related to each other, how the relationship between a place like Hawaii, the Philippines, the mainland US, it's so deep and rich. Like all of these things just made me kind of attuned to the idea that there are multiple ways to see things. Mm-hmm. Things have multiple meanings, and in a way you can construct messages that have multiple meanings.
Well, I think when you're working with contemporary artists and you're working on a big exhibition like this, you know, it's a long game. It first comes with a certain appreciation of an artist's practice and the importance of their work. What has been really wonderful to experience with Paul is that generosity of spirit and, you know, and intellect that very much embodies who he is as a person. So it's been a great experience for the whole team here at MOCA, really realizing this exhibition because it is through that collective effort. Again, you know, that collectivity is what makes these exhibitions possible.
In the age of AI, in the age of, you know, increasing social media apps, everyone can be an artist. I can be an artist. I can edit my own photos. So how does this tie in with your brand of art, with your perception of art, and where you think art is going?
Well, I mean, to me, art essentially is, how I would define it is it's a kind of place in society in which research and development is going on, R&D. It's pure laboratory. You know, in a way, the privilege of art is that, you know, as an artist, you're allowed to break all the rules. You're allowed to think outside the box and to think in new ways. In fact, what is valued most in the field of contemporary art is the new.
Yeah, innovation.
Innovation. So, you know, obviously, I'm not primarily a painter. In a way, what I like is to work with tools that are not typically or historically art tools.
Right.
If anything, they're tools of like advertising. In a way, I'm already working and speaking in a language that is not, strictly speaking, the most typical of art. It's more an expanded language of communication and image production in society. So I think where we're going, whether we like it or not, is into uncharted territory via new technologies and very powerful tools that are more and more right in the palm of our hand. We can use them just to communicate with our next door neighbor or to our relative on the other side of the world, but we can also produce videos and images and almost like reframe reality in very powerful ways. What used to be a kind of like very kind of contained area called contemporary art is expanding and kind of seeping into everyday life. You know, whether we think about it or not, is very influential. So to be an artist at this time, to me, is just it's a central activity in society.
Yeah, when you put it that way, I find it, and people know about this. It's both exciting, but terrifying at the same time.
Also terrifying.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much for talking to us. Congratulations again. Go ahead and invite our viewers to check out your exhibition.
Please do. Yeah. The show is at LA MOCA, the Geffen, which is in downtown LA. It's an amazing space. I think it's an amazing show. It's going to be up for 7 months. So up until June 2024, please come down and take a look.
Thank you once again. More
Thank
power
you.
to you.
Thank you.